I'm back. It's December 26, 2025. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, back after, 5 days, or 4 days off. We were coming back on Friday, and we are glad to be back here because that guy? Yeah, it was kind of a quiet holiday, believe it or not, but that guy did get a chance to do a bunch of stuff. And so we're going to talk about a few newer things. We're not going to go back the whole week, but we're going to do this as normal. This is a Friday edition, so we'll have you 8 stories for Thursday going into Friday, assuming I don't have a weird coughing fit or anything like that. And of course, give you a couple updates about maybe the holiday, the weekend we had while we're away. But the whole point about why you're here, if you're new here, none of that makes any sense. If you're new here, this is a Conversation Projects, things you might not have heard. And for this program here, I come to you live weekday mornings, 5:30, 5:30 a.m. Central Time, Monday. With less coughing, do I have a cough button here, and give you 8 stories from the prior day going into this morning to get your day started. Now, today we're going to talk about Donald Trump, who takes over 3 of the 8 slots, maybe 4 technically. A Little Caesar story where, trust me, when everything was shut down yesterday, this is one that you may actually relate to. And why am I actually here today? Mostly to prove that I did not win that winning lottery ticket. I did not get to hit the Powerball. We were out of state, so we didn't buy a ticket last night because it'd be all sorts of hell going back and forth. Unfortunately, it was won last night. Fourth largest ticket in the history of Powerball. We'll talk about that literally next. But those 4 stories, 5 stories, 8 stories total coming in just a bit. Remind you that you can find more about me with less coughing, hopefully, by visiting our website. This is conversationproject.com. Replays of the show when I do better of the show, of course, and links to our sponsors, links to our partners, and more things about the behind the scenes things. And we're going to talk about one in particular, that being ground news, in just a bit. If you missed me for the past 4 days of doing this stuff, you still had a chance to get better news from the news headlines that you got there, and you thought, well, this is a little odd. We took care of you by giving you a chance for ground news. If you not jumped on that yet, we can have a mutual responsive thing by you getting us a small commission. We can give you a great deal going forward. And let's get into the news stories for today. As we said, it is the 26th, Boxing Day, 26th of December, 2025. Enjoying yourself, I hope. And let's get on with it. So just to be clear, one single ticket wins an historic $1.817 billion lottery jackpot here in Arkansas. It was sold, or it was matched on December 24th drawing, the Christmas Eve's drawing, if you will, and that secured that $1 billion, almost $2 billion the jackpot for one person, the second largest Powerball prize cleared. I thought it was 4th, but it kept going up and up. It was like 1.7 until it actually got to the 24th, and then it was 1.8. The cash option, roughly $835 million before federal taxes, will make the story go from who won to what happens next. Second jackpot winning, this one ever sold in Arkansas. This is ours, obviously the largest one here for Arkansas. Here's one of the typical things that I didn't really know about this one, because I was worried if I actually would have won this thing. Yes, I bought the tickets all the way up until until Monday, because we went out of town on Sunday. Arkansas does have a 3-year limit, a 3-year sort of quiet period for people who win lotteries or win large lotteries. Now, we see all these people with these big checks, and our thing here is like, because it's about promotion. But if I actually could have went anonymous for about 3 years, which makes it easier to kind of transition out of your life and into something else, which is great for most people. Some places, they plaster you everywhere immediately, and you're just kind of stuck with it. There's a question: annuity versus lump sum. Lump sum gives you $8 million. Annuities will give you $1.8 billion over 20 years. If you live that long, if there's any sort of probate, whatever, it gets all kind of crazy. So the best thing to do is lump sum. Take it now, because you're not going to spend it all anyway. Or unfortunately, some people actually do, which is kind of a problem. The lottery resets. It went 42 weeks, I believe, from start to finish till someone picked it up. So this is the thing about the lottery. Chances are you're not going to win it. Someone will eventually, and it's not going to be you. ticket was sold somewhere in the Little Rock metro area. Some people say it was in Cabot, which is not a suburb, but a city a bit outside of Little Rock. Some people said it was like a Little Rock gas station. We'll find out when they publicize that one because they want to make sure people know where it was bought. Not like it makes any difference at this point, but somebody won. Congratulations. It's not me. I'm going back to work on Monday. I'm doing this for you on Monday. We're going to keep on doing what we're doing with less production value, obviously. Oh, it might help if I actually had the cough button in line with the right microphone. We'll try that later. Why the cough button isn't working? It's on the other mic. That is why. Story number 2 today. Trump floods Christmas Day with post targeting Somalis, praising the economy, and claiming voter fraud. Big day for Donald Trump as he opened up with airing his grievances, being a bit late for Festivus, if you will, where he spent Christmas Day posting at a high volume, somewhere around 200 posts on Truth Social. They weren't all brand new. A lot of them were repeats, retweets, reposts, rebleeds, whatever you call those things, on Truth Social specifically, mixing an attack on Somalis with some economic self-praise and, of course, some renewed voter fraud claims, just because it's the season, I guess. The sheer quantity of posts functioned as a distribution tactic, overwhelming the holiday news cycle and forcing selective amplification by editorial platforms. There wasn't much to talk about on Christmas Day. We'll get to some things that happened in a second, but with a news cycle that was extremely boring for a change, which is a good thing, Trump had to basically make sure he got out there. So he talked about some stuff, and when they started doing some live hits, a lot of it was these hits. He targeted Somalis, which taps into the existing political narrative with the real-world consequences right now, politically for Somali American communities already facing some heightened security. The economic posts were a counterweight of messaging, basically offering supporters shareable good news alongside some grievance-driven content. Right now, if you had a not-so-great Christmas or not as great as it has been, you know the feelings how the economy is working. Donald Trump says, well, you should have just only had $3 instead of 12. That's kind of where he's going with that one. The really odder part was actually the voter fraud claims, which were repeated from assertions that were no evidence with them, just going back and forth, but for Christmas this time, shifting that how they're circulated. He gave some screenshots, but fewer formal rebuttals of how the voting is, everything voting is a fraud. It was a day of, like I said, grievances and all sorts of just sort of bleats from Donald Trump to basically make sure that he was in the kind of in the crosshairs of targeted things going on. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just him is tweeting or truth socialing about things out there. Something actually did happen going into Christmas. This is real news. Trump says U.S. forces launched strikes against ISIS targets in Nigeria. Not only Trump at this point, but it's been confirmed. I saw a small interview this morning, a person from Nigeria who said, yes, we've been coordinating with the United States. We are working with this. Now, the complication part of this one, we have the power, so we blew people up, gets a little wiggy once you go into the details. And that's where Donald Trump said the U.S. forces carried out strikes on ISIS, crazy Christmas Day strikes, framing this action as part of ongoing counter-terrorist operations. The announcement offered limited operational detail from him, reflecting on the mission of the patterns of confirming actions without actually giving any tactical specifics. We blew something up. Why'd you blow it up? Well, because we had to. What was the reason behind that? Big stuff. Trust me, it's big stuff. Now, the ISIS affiliate in West Africa, which is particularly ISIS West Africa Province, or ISWAP, if you want to go that way, have been persistent regional threat despite the leadership issues they have there. ISIS does not have very much of a good backing of support, if you will. It's not exactly the rage it was about a decade ago, and people aren't just jumping for joy to go join them right now. Yet, they persist. But from a standpoint of the messaging that we give, the U.S. giving to the strikes, it shows the U.S. is actively engaging abroad while avoiding the broader policy discussions on Africa-focused military commitments. We're not saying that we're doing stuff to fix the S-hole countries. Meanwhile, we're blowing people up. Here's the thing. Donald Trump, in his speeches, in his talks, and not in my robot editing, is doing this because he heard they keep talking about all the persecution of Christians in these regions. And because of that, they're striking ISIS. Not the fact that ISIS is a terrorist organization that basically blows up anybody it wants to because they are terrorists and want to be in charge. It's the fact that they're focusing on Christian people, or they see me focus on Christian people. In the interview I saw today, it was on very, very early with Rahul Sullivan doing her show on CNN with the minister from Africa. He didn't want to go there. He did not say it was basically who was targeted. He's saying it's a regional thing, it's an issue thing, it's what goes on in the area and for Nigeria, and they want all Nigerians to be safe, and they are working with the U.S. to make sure that all Nigerians are safe. The fact that the president is saying that the Christians are being targeted, so that's why they're doing this, that means nothing to him. That means nothing to anyone there who's being saved from these things. They just want safety and security. You know who might want some safety and security? Bari Weiss. Because she's having to defend her decision. This is one of the second things big things she's done in the last couple of weeks, to pull the 60-minute story as a matter of journalistic integrity, as opposed to just not liking it or trying to play nice to the conversation to President Trump and the administration. The journalist Bari Weiss, so says my robot editor, but the actual the head of content essentially has defended her decision to pull a segment from 60 Minutes this past weekend, literally hours before it went to air, calling it necessary to preserve journalistic integrity rather than avoid controversy. The dispute centers on editorial standards and whether the segment met internal thresholds for content and sourcing and balance. Weiss framed the threat and the actual pullback itself as an act of transparency, even as the critics argue it actually undermines all the newsroom independence that it should have had for 60 Minutes and for CBS. This actual detail, this actual episode for the episode itself and the episode of pulling the episode, that's meta, highlights a modern newsroom dilemma, correcting or stopping a story that can now generate more attention than airing it. In most cases, it's the cover-up that's worse than the actual crime. But strategically, the defense aims to reassure skeptical audiences that restraint can signal rigor and not capitulation to someone else. Here's one of the weird things about this: the story in place, I believe it was called "The Trouble with CCOT," or basically issue with CCOT. It was sending all these people from here, United States, from U.S. us, to the jails where they're the big notorious prisons, and finding out that most of the people that were sent weren't the evil killers and murderers and rapists and thugs, but were people with no criminal records at all. They just had a bunch of tattoos and looked kind of snarly, so they round them up and sent them down to this notorious prison. That was the story that was there. They did not get anyone from the administration to basically give a sort of comment to it. And so Weiss said, well, why can't we get someone like Stephen Miller to give a comment? And people were like, hell no, because he's terrible. And so they pulled the story. The story actually got loaded onto servers and loaded onto other programs for the Canadian version, if you will, because they the distributor of the show in Canada had it ready to go because it was ready to go, and they uploaded it to the online version. So now you can see it online. I don't think they've pulled it in very places, so you can see the actual report without any sort of delay or anything like that. So you can see exactly what was put out there, minus any administrative sort of no comment type things, which is the base issue why she pulled it. We'll see how this one plays and how Bari Weiss will do. Ironically, the Trump administration, thinks she's doing great, and the people who may end up buying CBS, Paramount, think she's doing great. I'm not sure how great I'm doing today. It's a bit rusty. I've literally been not doing this for 4 days and keeping up with news and kind of keeping an eye on what was trending, what was big, but not exactly in the groove today. So apologies for being off. This is your first time finding us, find us Monday, and we'll have a little bit better, we hope, and I'll actually realize, oh yeah, I got to swap that cable around for the cough button if I'm going to use this one right here, or get another cough button. But this is the part where we take a pause from the stories. I told you 8 stories. You'll get 8 stories, I promise. But first, I need to beg I need to beg and ain't too proud to do it because we need you to like, share, and subscribe to the work we're doing to grow our News Nerd Nation. I have been working on some end of the year sort of reflection type stuff. I watched some other people do some impromptu things, and so I'm going to do some stuff as well. And I looked at the large growth we've had over the year. We've had a almost doubling of subscribers. We gained over 1,183 or so subscribers in the calendar year from the 1st to now the 26th. So that's a whole bunch of folks. We wanted more, but we're not going to complain about what we got because we know we're happy at where we are. But we need more of them or more of you in this queue. So if you're watching this, if you like my commentary, like the news I'm picking, like the way I sound, the way I look, or even if you don't like that stuff but you want to hate like it anyway, we need you to like the videos you're watching. The live one here, whether you're watching it live or in replay, or the hot takes or other things as well, or any of our content anywhere. Looking for you to share with like-minded people so that they hopefully will enjoy and engage as well. You like the videos. The algorithm thinks that they're good enough to share with other people, so it will share them in various batches. When you share with other people you know, they hopefully trust you and will allow you to come into their lives so they can see it come back as well. And if you're not getting us notifiably in your feed, we're not even asking you for to hit notifications. We're not asking you when you're watching it. You don't have to watch it live at 5:30 in the morning. Subscribe so we get those numbers up going forward. Also, consider being a partner. That's via our Buy Me a Coffee platform, or joining the platform on YouTube where it's a little bit cheaper, but you get the same things there to get us going. Like, share, subscribe. Here comes a cough. Help us grow the News Nerd Nation. And I didn't realize it. I said literally today. This mic is the one that's actually mic'd up on the cough button. This one isn't. So doing this whole shift thing, trying to do the new things. You learn things. You live, you learn, you grow, you learn. Atlanta's more set for the morning. All right, so one of the cool things about the time of the year it is, if you aren't overly football now, which I think I am, now there's just so much of it. I'm overly sports-wise. Usually Christmas is the time to transition to start talking about basketball. We'll get about more football and why that's a problem in a moment. But it is bowl season, and it's for teams to get a chance to get one more game, one more chance to shine out there in the world. And here's a chance for one team to not only not shine, but prove how unworthy they are in the game of football, maybe life. UNLV player, a player from the team from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, in football, accidentally tackled a teammate in a bowl game and prevented a touchdown. Basically stopped a guy from scoring a game. In a bowl game appearance, UNLV Rebels, a player inadvertently tackled his own teammate near the goal line, which stopped a likely touchdown. The play unfolded during a critical red zone moment, magnifying the mistake's impact beyond simple embarrassment. Oh no, they're about to score. This is just a dumb thing. You basically kept us from actually winning the game. Video of this collision has spread quickly across all the socials because the error was visually obvious and required no technical explanation. Hey, that guy tackled the wrong guy. He tackled a guy in his own uniform. That is wrong. Football eyes, breakdown stemmed from a misaligned blocking assignment rather than a lack of effort, or a want of effort, if you will. Basically, the guys were lined up wrong, and because he was there, he hit the guy that was supposed to be there, which was ironically his guy. So, all you may know UNLV for being the running Rebels and being a great basketball team. Their reputation for football, obviously not as great. And this is a clip that will basically show the world that UNLV is not basically ready for prime time when it comes to the gridiron. Coaches typically frame such moments as communication failures, but viral moments these day and age tend to outlive corrective context. I am pretty sure this young man has learned his lesson and will never do this one again. So that is there. It's just a hard lesson to learn. In an age of viral activity, It's going to be a hard one to live down. Netflix has a broadcast failure that triggers a backlash during the Snoop Dogg halftime performance. So, full disclosure, I was watching this game. I tuned in. I watched for a few minutes of the commentators doing their halftime little blurbs because they have to, because they only had a little bit of time because of halftime. I saw a little thing for Snoop Dogg go across the screen. I turned and watched something else for a little bit. Watched basketball game was on the same time. Turned back, and the K-pop Demon Hunters were already on the field singing and dancing. So I missed a big chunk of this was happening. But Netflix actually faced a lot of backlash because of the failure that disrupted the coverage, and it happened right at the start of Snoop Dogg's halftime performance. And it's one of those things where the game was terrible, but the performance essentially saved the day, if you will. Many people reported freezes, buffering, and drop feeds at the exact moment designed to showcase platform's live event ambitions. Much like last year's Beyonce Bowl, where it went nutsos. And of course, the very first time this thing really went completely kablooey, and that was Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. The outage undercut Netflix push into live sports adjacent programming, where reliability matters more than novelty. From a brand perspective, the technical breakdowns linger longer than successful streams because it reinforces skepticism about the scale readiness. Bad news travels faster, and bad news sticks around fast more than good news. If it goes well, it's all good. If it goes terrible, everyone talks about it. Social media reaction turned a glitch into a story that was probably bigger than it should have been, displacing both the performance and the game context. The game wasn't so great. None of the games yesterday were great or that meaningful. Well, a couple were, because a couple did mean some playoff clinches by some losses. However, the big showcase, which was, although everybody thought Lainey Wilson was awesome, they liked the K-pop Demon Hunters, and the Bocellos wrapping things up, hanging out with Snoop Dogg, made this an event. But it could have been a bigger event, should have been a bigger event, and the glitches were there, so Netflix has to deal with that going forward. The Kennedy Center Honors records the lowest ratings ever for the CBS hosted event following Donald Trump hosting the actual event. Remember Donald Trump said that the ratings for the Kennedy Centers would be the best ever, and then you realize, oh yeah, this is a taped thing, it's not going to come out for a couple weeks. Well, guess what? It did not. Kennedy Center Honors drew their lowest recorded audience on CBS after the event was hosted by Donald Trump. Early ratings are telling us that one. Decline continues in a multi-year erosion for the broadcast, which has struggled to maintain relevance in a fragmented viewing environment. Meanwhile, adding Donald Trump just made it more polarized. Making him host it, or having hosted, he chose to do himself, made it even worse, encouraging an opt-out for many folks who just weren't curious about it. I wasn't curious about it, just didn't watch it, just didn't pick up on, just didn't care, to be honest. Programming standpoint, prestige specials now face structural limits without cross-platform reinforcement. When you're putting on these things that's supposed to mean something and you don't really promote them well, they don't do well, even if Donald Trump is showing up. The ratings drop raises questions about the future of CBS partnerships and the event broadcast strategy. These are the things you dump into the holiday season when there's not much going on, so you can stretch your times going forward and you get some curiosity what's happening. Now there's just so many new things on the streaming level and so many old things you can catch up on don't work so well. There's a broader takeaway to this one, and then it's basically that cultural institutions are no longer guaranteed mass audiences, regardless of the host or the history of the event. The Oscars are moving away from TV. They're going to YouTube. So anybody can watch it. They just aren't going to watch it on the TV they did before. It's a whole lot of changes the way broadcast is going, the way things are picking up on things, and what the actual networks are going to pay for to make things work out. It's an interesting times that we live in. Yesterday was Christmas Day, the 25th of December, and nothing was open. There were a few places. In fact, our county had a listing of restaurants that were open. Obviously, most of the Chinese restaurants were there, but some different places that were open during the day, they were mostly ethnic, that are essentially not non-Christian nations, i.e., that didn't necessarily shut down, but knew they were going to make some money. My favorite Chinese restaurant went to their Christmas buffet price of $25 a person. because people go there for Christmas. It's a tradition for places. This was not a Christmas Day thing, but trust me, trying to get some places for the close because you're hungry can be a thing. And this woman says she drove triple-digit speeds so she could reach Little Caesars before closing time. She exceeded 100 miles per hour in an effort to reach Little Caesars before its location closed, according to the arrest report by the police. Officers reported her speed well above the pencil limit, elevating the incident from a routine speeding to reckless driving territory. The explanation quickly became the headline, but law enforcement emphasized the safety risk rather than the novelty. Yeah, we know you're hungry. We know it's an issue. Little Caesars is great. Affordable. But 100 miles an hour to get there, yeah. The reason why we do stories like this is because they are conversational. They are absurd. They are ridiculous. They are pretty dangerous on their actual face value. This is a bad story. This may not be a bad person, but she was doing a very stupid thing. But guess what? You guys engaged in it. You guys want to talk about it. We're talking about it. And you cannot say you've never sped to get to some place before they close and was basically disappointed when you got there right when they shut the doors. This lady was going to make sure she was getting pizza that night, and she had a big plan until those gosh darn police officers thwarted her plan. So it happens. So this is one where we are all this woman. We are all this person. We are all a person trying to fight hard to get there before it shuts down. And some of us get there and win. Some of us get there late and lose. Some of us get pulled over and get charged for it, which is what happened here. Now, let's talk about ground news for a moment. If you see a news headline from any source you have out there, any source that comes to you, and you think, wow, that seems a little odd, check it out in ground news. Type in the headline, type in the story, type in the subject in the ground news, and they will give you the details on who's covering that story, whether they are news outlets, whether there are websites, whether there are old school newspapers and TV stations, whether there are podcasts that do more newsy stuff these days. More people get their news from just guys like me rambling about stuff these days than ever. So you can get your source. I don't think I'm a source. I don't think I'm that big. But you can see where your source is talking about these stories and how it's being covered here and there across the internets. And they'll tell you who owns the source, what types of stories they usually pay to cover, and what they're trying to do. Because everyone has a slant. Everyone has a view. I have a slant. I have a view. And you'll see more of that this year going forward. So ground news will give you a chance to see more about the news you're trying to get covered. And if you're able to pay for their Vantage plan, you get access to their blind spot, which will literally show you what stories they are trying to hide from you, or they are trying to overplay to you. So you get more perspective that is, let's just say, in line with a particular viewpoint. Whether you have a conservative view or a liberal view, each side is trying their best to sell you on their thought processes. So what sides are being pushed more by the left or right? Find out using their Vantage plan and the blind spot feature. And you can get that for 40% off using our link at thisistheconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. What you'll get from there is, like we say, 40% off your Vantage plan, and we get a small commission back for you checking it out. So we need you to check it out. We want you to check it out. We need you better with your news, and you can do that by going to Ground News today. Remind you, our website home is thisistheconversationproject.com. If you're new to us here and you stuck around this long, check out the website. See some past episodes. Some of the things we've done around here. You can email me with questions, comments, and concerns at theconversationinbox@gmail.com, Facebook and X, where we can be followed along with YouTube, where on Facebook and X we post news articles, links to articles every about hour or so, about every 50 minutes. You can see what stories we're working on. We're looking to see, are they good enough to chat up? If you engage in those stories we think are good enough to chat up, we'll probably choose them for forums like this, or the hot takes, short videos that do deeper details of the individual stories, if we can. Happy Boxing Day to all. Friday, December 26, 2025. I am Jay Clifton Payne, so obviously we did not get a full week of workout today because I spent the time, as promised, with the family, giving them 4 days of non-working stuff here. I produced absolutely nothing online. I did the history lesson stuff ahead of time. I built basically 2 weeks of history, so that's all booked and ready to go. So I had the time for that one, but I did nothing else. We did none of the very basic investing advice. Did none of the new stuff. I got on and did one Christmas message yesterday that was basically Merry Christmas. That was it, and I basically was able to keep that promise to the family. We enjoyed ourselves out of town, out of the way, very much in something that was new to us to do something there. Next week, we're more or less back to normal. We'll see how things will go, and we're going to try some things that popped into my head while I was out there, watching some other people do some things and seeing some review stuff. So you'll see some review stuff. You'll see some new stuff. You'll see some fixing cough button stuff. See a bunch of things in the next couple of weeks going into the new year to get things going. So if you're new to us, stick around. You'll see some things that will get better, even though you don't know how bad they were. If you're not too new to us, stick around. You'll see some things that get better because you know exactly how they've gone, and you can give me all the comments and feedback you want to help to fix. In the meantime, I did it. I produced this one thing. Check out our newsletter, which will give you all the news without my face and other things about us at our conversation website. This is conversationproject.com. Love you, mean it. Went really long today for just 8 stories on a Friday, but hey, we had to kind of catch up for not being here all week. Love you, mean it. Let's do this again come Monday.